here this afternoon with Jackson and Paul of Codello, who are participants in the China Canvas Challenge. So my first question is, Jackson and Paul, could you give us a bit of background about yourselves, your company and your products?
I'll let Paul take the first question. No worries. So we both have just graduated from the Master of Entrepreneurship last year at the University of Melbourne. In our second and final semester, we looked at the nurses and found it's a massive problem. Nurses don't want to call in sick; they'd rather swap, but there's no other options. So we've developed a MVP that helps nurses shift swap.
And so a bit of background, I was an accountant and did finance previously. Paul is economics and he's coded our first MVP. And we've also got another lady, Lisa, another one of our co-founders who has lived and breathed the problem of hospitals.
And have you got your MVP out and installed anywhere?
No, so we're in the middle of talking with hospitals. As I'm sure you can imagine, getting into hospitals is quite an ordeal. It's different from going out to, say, if we're going out to the users, the nurses. We could probably get a lot faster, but not as much bang for our buck when we find it. We're of getting into a hospital to pilot, optimize the product, and then be able to get all to the statistics behind what we can save, what we can do in there.
So, just to define what I understand the problem you're solving is, it's the problem of dealing with rostering of nursing workforces. Is that correct?
So it's a little bit different. So it's about after the fact of rostering. So rosters get published, and then we come in after that and allow facilitation of nurses to swap with each other. So ultimately what we want to do is reduce agency costs. So replacing short-term staff from external. So it's about the hospital using the staff in a better way.
Okay, given that you're at a very early stage, not too many Aussie companies think about going global day one. Personally, I've done that, but not many others people think that way. Why do you think that way?
I suppose maybe through our masters a little bit, we always got told that Australian market's only really so small, and if you really want to have a meaningful impact, you sort of have to think global straight away, and at least understand the landscape of what's out there and what the problems are, to make sure that you're not just solving a really big problem in a small market, but you're solving a big problem in big markets. So I suppose that was our why we enrolled and had a look at this C3 China Challenge.
Okay, so what made you interested in the China market then?
So that might come from me. I studied Chinese for the last 2 years. I'm not going to try to talk to you in Chinese. It's not great and it wouldn't make very good video. But so when the C3 challenge came up, I jumped at the opportunity, told Jackson about it, and really wanted to learn from it. And the course.
Cool. One of the things that I've appreciated in marking your assignments each week is that your education, your master's degrees, is obviously rubbed off in the way you think, and therefore you're fairly systematic, looking at the various options for distribution and deciding upon your value proposition and things like that. Could you let me know though why you have chosen this sort of go and sell it to the hospital up front model rather than the typical give it away to the nurses and let them pull the institution through?
So this is sort of we have grappled with this idea for a long time. So we've met with a lot of mentors that have sort of said hospitals or give it to the nurses. And so it's sort of something that comes up all the time. We've sort of gone to the hospitals because the nurses are just the users and the recipients of the technology. So fundamentally, we decided to go to the customer so that at least we know willingness to pay and some other things around what their problems are relative to just giving it to nurses who will just use it but won't pay for it.
during our validation, we found the hospitals are very, they know about the problem. This isn't just nurses wanting to swap. This is the hospital wanting nurses to swap.
Okay. So you've been actively doing the assignments for the China Challenge. What are the things that you think are good and the things that could be improved regarding that program?
The really good thing that we like is learning from the case studies. The best way to learn, you can only learn so much about the theory. It's sort of the war scars from hearing other people, what worked well, what in different people that are in, because you can sort of imagine that we're exactly in exactly the same position. So knowing that it's not too far off and that they can at least be our support mechanisms if we need them going forward. One thing that's been challenging would probably be how much work needed to be done in a short amount of time. So every week we sort of comes out Monday, and then by Thursday you've got to turn around a fair body of work, but all the while learning it at the same time. So
I think where it's a little more difficult for us is because we're not consumer based, B2C, it does make it a lot harder because I think the course is very much modelled around that, which I understand. Yeah. So we are taking the learnings. A lot of them we will apply in maybe the future.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you that the B2B aspect of the program could be improved, and we'll take that on board. So overall, out of 10, what would you give the program at the moment?
Listen, for me, in B2B, I'd say a 6 or a 7. If I was B2C, I'd definitely push that up.
Yeah, I'd probably echo the same thing. B2B, 6 or 7. If you're B2C, learning about all those, like whether it's WeChat right through to key opinion leaders, all those sort of things, probably 8 or 9 out of 10. So,
yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your frank feedback, and I hope to see your final assignment and meet you in the near future. And as I've mentioned to you when I've been writing comments, I have some background in the healthcare system in China, so if we got together for a cup of coffee sometime, I might have something useful to have a chat with you about.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, guys.